we played the Chiefs in that first Super Bowl, we tried our best to really stay as close to our routine as we could. But I think we all felt the magnitude of the moment and maybe got caught in it just a little bit. We didn't get it done. And I thought, boy, I'm going to have to live with that the rest of my life. We come back this year and, you think, my gosh, we get another shot at these guys. Just 2 years later, boy, we just went in with a total business approach. And it was a lot of the same guys that were here a couple years ago. And Bray, I can't say it was just like every other game. It wasn't. We tried our best to stay just within our process, even like the warm-up. The guys just did the same stuff, and I said, now look, you're going to warm up and Jay-Z might be standing right over there, but you still got to do your same stuff. And that's what the guys did. We treated it very seriously and the guys played that way. And obviously by winning it, it was a real special moment.
Former Arkansas Razorback and current Super Bowl champion with the Philadelphia Eagles, Jeremiah Washburn, is presented by C.R. Crawford Construction. This podcast is powered by Lindsay & Associates.
Coach, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, hey, congratulations on the Super Bowl. We're going to jump in the journey there. Talk to us a little bit about your world growing up, your dad being a coach and just a huge football family, that process, how important football was to your family and just that early part about playing and GAing and the grind.
Sure. Yeah, that's a loaded question, Jeff. Growing up, my dad was much like Coach Bender, came up in a different era, where they were, they played college football and they were phys ed majors and they were taught to be coaches. So coming up with my dad and Coach Bender, honestly, I don't remember life without Coach Bender. Gosh, when was it, Brent? 1980?
1980, University.
Yeah, 1980 at New Mexico. And so, you come up with all these great coaches that were very, very self-made men. It gives you a certain passion for the game. And my dad, experienced some trouble at the University of South Carolina, which Brent remembers very well, and was out of coaching for a while, or at least the big time coaching. And that's where I probably carved my love of the game was during that time, because he coached for some minor league teams. He coached in the World League, which is NFL Europe, and then in the Arena League. And you're around a bunch of coaches and players that just love it, and they're not playing for anything. They're just playing for the game. And so you kind of develop that love alongside them. And I was at a formative time. I was in my early teens, and then I started high school ball around that time. And so you're around those type of men and you kind of develop that same love. And I went to a great high school program. I was really blessed. Dad was kind of out of the big time coaching. So we went back to where he grew up, which is Shelby, North Carolina. And it's the winningest program in the state of North Carolina. And it's like a lot of programs in the state of Arkansas where they love their team. You grow up, it's grandfathers, fathers, sons playing for the same program. And that's what that was. And you just learn to work, and you learn about team and selflessness and things of that nature. And so Dad got back into coaching in 94 at the U of A. And it was really important to us because he'd been through a lot. And I'd say this, and I'm not just saying it because Brent's on this, but the Benders were one of a few people that really stuck with our family through that time. And I remember we went to see him coach at Rice and UNLV and things of that nature. And they were able to coach together again at the U of A. And so I was recruited decently, and I was going to go. I was leaning towards to NC State or Wake Forest, where ironically Jim Caldwell was the head coach, and I later worked for him in Detroit. But I ended up, having my senior year at Fayetteville High School, and you're around that program, and there was a certain feel and energy that Coach Ford and especially with Dad and Coach Bender and Charlie North. Lewis Campbell, Rocky Felker, there was just Fitzhill. There was just a great staff there at the time, and you just had a feeling that something big was about to happen at the U of A. And the class ahead of me, I got to know, through that. And it was Burlsworth, it was Garrett and Brown and Abernathy and Hale and Painter and that crew, Herringer and a lot of guys ahead of me. And I kind of got to know the guys that were going to sign that year, Bobby Williams and DJ Cooper and Emmanuel Smith and Duron Moss and Chalmers and Joe Dean and a lot of that crew, and you get close to them. And so I wasn't going to play where my dad was. That was kind of something I didn't want to do. And then, in the end, I was about to go to South Carolina, and Coach Ford called me and said, "Why don't you just come here?" And so I did, and I was so glad that I did, because it was really something special to be involved with. I would say just the initial turnaround of the football program in the SEC.
Well, you go in there and you have a great career there, and then you get into coaching. I mean, like I said, y'all kind of were the ones that kind of turned it around and that part of it. Then you get into coaching at the University of Arkansas, GA, and talk to us a little bit, transferring from playing to coaching. I know you've been around with your dad, but all of a sudden you're going into that field. Talk to us a little bit about those first 2 years GA and there at the University of Arkansas.
Well, I appreciate you saying great career, Jeff. It wasn't. We won. We won.
Yeah.
It was it was great to be around those guys. I started my senior year and I got hurt, and it wasn't an excuse, but I wasn't good enough, quite good enough, and that's okay. But I always appreciate Coach Nutt and Coach Marcus and giving me an opportunity to play. And I finished in the Cotton Bowl, and it was a good finish to it. But I wasn't those guys. I played between, Bobby Williams and Kenny Sandlin. Those guys are great players. I was just there. But nonetheless, what happened, Coach Broyles was something special, and it was just a wonderful time to be a Razorback, because Coach Broyles was our athletic director. Dean Weber, he's trainer in title, but he ran the Broyles complex, and, I just remember saying, boy, I'd like to, Nathan Cole and Brandon Burlsworth got their MBAs ahead of me, and they said it was a good program. So I said, I'd like to do that myself. And I just went up and talked to Coach Broyles, and Coach Broyles said, well, if you want to further your education, we'll find a job for you here. So I was a GA, but I wasn't in the, I wasn't grinding like a lot of the other GAs were, because it was a very intensive school program. So he allowed me to do that. But the biggest thing I got out of getting my MBA was I had no interest in being in business. You're working with folks, and I think it's actually turned into a really good business program at the university. But at that time, it was pretty good. But you're working with some go-getters, and I just thought, boy, this isn't for me. I got to find a way to get in football. And so I started taking a bunch of internships for training camp, and Lewis Campbell got me an internship with the Buffalo Bills through Dwight Adams, an old Arkansas man. And so I did an internship with the Buffalo Bills. It was during the Brent will remember the Doug Flutie, Rob Johnson days in 2000. Wade Phillips was the head coach, and boy, I just loved it. It was 6 weeks. You bust your hump, and you just love it. And so I started looking for ways to get in, and I found a internship in 2001 with the Carolina Panthers. They asked me to come back full time the next year, and so that's really how I started in the NFL was through that.
Well, you do that. You go to the Panthers and kind of getting the whole deal is a lot of times just getting in the league. Then you to me, just looking at it, you go to the Baltimore Ravens, which I think is one of the flagship franchise in any professional sports. You get to go and you're a scout and work with Ozzie Newsome, who's, was an awesome, Hall of Fame player. I've just listened to things, don't know him personally, but just a general manager part of it. Brian Billick, John Harbaugh, and that staff just, Rex Ryan, you name them, Coach Smith, all those guys, you're there. Talk to us a little bit about your time. I know you're in the scouting department, but just absorbing all that knowledge from all those guys in that organization.
Yeah, Jeff, you're exactly right. That's where that was my big break, and that's God is good. Just on that one, I interviewed with the Ravens, and I tell you who got it for me. And this is I'll give you, it's a 30-second story, but we got time, I guess. Was when my dad got his job with the Titans. I was a GA, and it was 1999. We go to they didn't even have their complex yet. It was a bunch of trailers. And so I went to see Dad, and I was still at the U of A at that time, and we went out to dinner, and we went out. It was he, I, and a quality control coach, and this quality control coach, we're at a Pizza Hut, and he said, "Hey, I tell you what, if I ever become a head coach, I'm going to hire you as the assistant O-line coach, and but I'm going to help you in the meantime." And it was Jim Schwartz, and Jim's confident enough to say those things, or he believed it, that he was going to become a head coach, and sure enough, he did. But so Schwartzy helped me with Baltimore. He had been there before. He made, he got me an interview. I went up. It was intensive. It's like, you ever hear about those Chick-fil-A when you have to start a Chick-fil-A franchise? They just put you through the meat grinder, and make sure you can run that Chick-fil-A right. Well, that's how they do it in Baltimore. They put you through a grinder of a process to interview, and they were going to hire one, but it was me and then Daniel Jeremiah, who's the NFL Network, the face of the draft now. They hired he and I, and we were taking over for Joe Douglas, who was the GM for the Jets just recently. But we were so blessed because it is we used to joke all the time. It's an MIT education. I mean, they are just constantly teaching you. They're working you. Ozzie, Phil Savage, Eric DaCosta, and then Coach Billick was on the other side. Shoot, there was a point we counted it up. There's like 6 head coaches on that staff, and at that time, and so I couldn't have been more blessed to be with an organization than the Baltimore Ravens, and we were there 6 years. It was something else.
But then you go on, you bring up, Jim Schwartz goes on, Detroit. You go on there as an offensive line coach, assistant offensive line coach, and then head down to the Dolphins for a year, and then Chicago, just the way of the world of an NFL coach, then back to Miami, and then you head into Philadelphia. Talk to us a little bit about that time, from just an NFL coach. You're sitting in Baltimore, you get to Miami, Chicago, Miami, just kind of bouncing around the world a little bit. And talk to us a little bit about your relationship with Jim Schwartz, who I think is an outstanding coach. Doesn't get enough credit for all the success he has, especially on the defense side of the ball. Talk to us a little bit about your time during that era.
Yeah, Jeff, you're so right with Jim. But yeah, I mean, the quick of it was actually Rex Ryan and Mike Pettin, who Rex was our DC, and we were just sitting. They used to stay late, even in the spring. I can't say enough how hard a working organization. Those guys everybody worked hard in Baltimore. That's the secret. But Rex said, "Boy, you ought to try coaching sometime." And I said, "Well, I promised my mom I'd stay on the scouting side, and Bray could see that with Sandy. But anywho, he said, you ought to try coaching." And so he started taking interviews, and he got the Jets job and said, "Hey, I could get you this." And then sure enough, Jim called. He didn't even give me warning. He said, "Hey, you remember this? You want to be the assistant O-line coach?" And I called Rex, and Rex said, "Boy, you ought to take that one. That'd be a good job." So I went there, and it couldn't have been. It was one of those things. And if you haven't been to Detroit, and it's so funny, living in Arkansas for 8 years, I would have thought Detroit, what a miserable place. But I'm sure Swanee and Frank Ragnow would say the same thing. I mean, it was just awesome. It's a wonderful place. 7 years is wonderful. The lines are great. Detroit's a great place to live, and we were so grateful. We had so many good coaches and players through there. Including Travis Swanson. But the 7 years kind of ran out. I got let go, and I was blessed to be in Miami, and then just started the coaching bounce, like a lot of coaches do. I mean, you went Miami for a year. That was a great year. And then Chicago, we weren't very good as a team, but boy, I love working for John Fox, had a lot of great people there. And then back to Miami, and it was kind of an epiphany moment where we just after 18, Adam Gase, our head coach, got let go. We had a decent team, but we just weren't good enough. And so we got let go, and I kind of it was just a life crossroads. My daughter was going to be a senior in high school, and it was one of those times where you just said, what are we going to do next? And so, Brent, that's my wife walking by right there. Yeah,
I love it.
So, yeah. So, anywho, we kind of just sat still after the 2018 season, in large part because we just didn't want to move. My daughter, she's a really good lacrosse player. She loved her school in Fort Lauderdale, and so we just kind of stayed put and just let the Lord go to work right there. And so that's when we ended up going to Philadelphia.
Well, you go to Philadelphia, and I got to ask you this: your title was Advanced Project Coordinator.
Oh,
I know there's all kinds of titles out there.
We just made that up. We literally just made it up. This is a really unique organization. So it's like the Ravens, but it's its own. The Eagles are very special, and I say that I've been here now. This is going my 7th year, but it's a special place, and Howie Roseman is about as great as they get as a general manager, and our owner Jeffrey Lurie's something else as well. And so we just Joe Douglas is one of my close friends in life. We were in the Ravens together. He was here before he went to the Jets, and I was thinking about doing some other things, and we were on the phone, and he said, just come here, and I'd known, Schwartzy was here, Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach, and I were pretty good friends. And he just said, come up here, we'll figure something out. And so we just figured out a title, and Howie's really good with that. And they're very forward thinking here. They want to get people here, and then we'll figure it out later. And that's what they did. And so I had that title in 19. I just did a lot of stuff for a lot of different people at that time. And then in 20, kind of transition to something else.
Talk to our audience a little bit about how special it was to win the Super Bowl, just being a football family. Y'all been close before, and what a big deal is, 2 decades in the NFL and that journey and finally reaching that goal. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Oh, sure. I mean, I could go a long time, but the quick of it is, I've been an offensive line coach for years, and then I flipped over to defense here, and I didn't think I could do it, but Jim kind of gave me the belief that I could, and then the players, especially Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, they taught me essentially to be a D-line coach, and so we go to the Super Bowl in 22, and we kind of craft this defense with Jonathan Gannon, and we were really proud of what we were able to do that year, but we just fell short in the Super Bowl, especially that second half. Against the Chiefs, after the 22 season, and we didn't get it done, and I thought, boy, I'm gonna have to live with that the rest of my life. But sure enough, we had a rough season in 23, and then we come back this year, and Vic's our D coordinator, and we're good in defense again, and you think, my gosh, we get another shot at these guys, just 2 years later, and boy, we just went in with a total business approach this time. And it was a lot of the same guys that were here a couple years ago. And so we just we treated it very seriously, and the guys played that way. And obviously by winning it was a real special moment. And they let your family down on the field. They give you 2 passes. Yeah. So I wasn't going to pick one kid over the other. So I just decided it would be Susan and my dad, and it was really special to share that moment with them. You're an ex-player, man. That's all I got to do with players on the Zoom. Hey,
yeah,
your mute's on.
Yeah, we're muted. We're back. All right. So to follow up on the Super Bowl, we've all played and coached in some big time games, and you talk about the nerves and the intensity of some of those moments. But to play in that game and with the intensity and the focus that y'all had, what's that pregame experience like at that level?
Yeah, Bray, that's a great question. So our head coach, Nick Sirianni, y'all love him. He, his dad was a high school coach. He's a D3 player from Mount Union, which is really like a D1 program. But he came up the hard road. And so he runs our place like a college team, and we do. And so, before we played the Chiefs in that first Super Bowl, we tried our best to really stay as close to our routine as we could. But I think we all felt the magnitude of the moment and maybe got caught in it just a little bit, and unintentional. We really tried hard not to. Whereas this time, I mean, Bray, it wasn't. I can't say it was just like every other game. It wasn't, but we really tried our best to stay just within our process and do the same things. And so, honestly, that's what our guys did this time, where our practices, they felt the same intensity as they did the previous week, or 2 weeks previous. The preparation process, everything that we did, even the night before meeting, it wasn't very emotional. It was just very businesslike. And even like the warm-ups, the guys just did the same stuff. And I said, now look, you're going to warm up and Jay-Z might be standing right over there, but you still got to do your same stuff. And that's what the guys did. And so, honestly, Bray, it felt the same as every other game as much as you could do that, which was probably a little different than the first time we were in that Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah, obviously it paid off. And I've got a friend of mine. I went to a game with him to watch y'all play the Chiefs 2 years ago. He was, I believe, in ninth grade at the time. His name is Jace. But he showed me, I guess, the fandom that is the Eagles fans, and it's unbelievable. And then the passion that they have for y'all's program. What's it like with that fan base? And then just their intensity behind your program.
Well, it's like being a Razorback, just with different. It's just a different accent. But
sure.
I would say there's no, geez, that's I can still hear say that, right? There's lions, tigers, and bears, but there's only one Razorback. Like that's, it's similar here. It's just a different. They're just. It's the Northeast, so it's a little bit different in that regard, and there's a lot of fans. But as far as the passion and intensity, it feels like the SEC up here, and they're, they're great fans when you play for them, and when you're like a Dallas guy, as Jeff has in his background, if you're a Dallas guy, they're going to give you a hard time. And
hey, we don't want to talk about those guys right now, man.
Let's just skip on that one. But it's no different than if you come through with a Longhorn, through the state, or whatever. The fan base is very similar to what we were kind of accustomed to at the U of A.
Yeah, and so Jason and I went to that game in Kansas City. If we were to come up to Philly and see a home game, where do we need to go eat? Well, where's our pregame meal spot for people like us in the hometown?
Like, what do you like?
I like everything, all of it. Is there what's the staple?
You're no lineman.
I'm no lineman. Yeah, you can send me anywhere. I'm going to say yes.
Everybody's going to say go get a cheesesteak, and I would say go get one. It's how sometimes you hear about it for years and you go, it's okay.
Sure.
Cheesesteak, no, the cheesesteak is actually what you think it is. It's phenomenal. And it's just bread, meat, cheese, and onions, but dadgum, they do a good job. So I would say you probably got to get the cheesesteak, and there's a ton of places, up and down, because our stadium's in South Philly, so it's all right there. Like everything you see on Rocky, it's all just blocks away, which is kind of cool.
Perfect. Well, that's what we'll do.
Cool.
Yeah, tell me to come up.
Yeah, we will. We'll have to get you out and get cheesesteak.
Exactly.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Mouth.
All right. Before I start my questions, a cheesesteak is just an appetizer for Bray. we gotta go have a real meal now. Jeremiah, I have become fascinated by your director of security, Big Dom. Tell me about Big Dom, because he's like a cult hero to me.
Yeah, he is for me too. So I don't think, it's funny, Brent. I don't think Dom loves the attention that he gets now. He's about as good a human as you're ever going to find. Like, he is just everything to the Eagles. He'd do anything for you. I got to get my license renewed here in New Jersey, and he'll make a call because, like most people up in, Philly and New Jersey, there's actually a T-shirt up here because if you say, "Hey, I got to get my tire changed," he'll say, "I got a guy," And so he's got a ton of guys because he's just a great human being that loves our players and loves our staff, and he'd do anything for you. But with the relationship with Dom, he's going to tell you the exact truth, and some people don't love that, but you can always go to his office and say, "Hey, what do you think?" And he's going to tell you. And there's always people in his office, and he is a big man. He was actually a heck of a recruit coming out of high school, and he went to Penn State, and he was a power lifter. But he had some injuries and didn't get to play football like he'd like to. But he just kind of came up through the organization, and Andy Reid really took care of him. And he got close with Chip Kelly, and he's become the guy, and there's not many more important men in our organization, but my kids love him. They wear the Dom sweatshirt, like everybody does now. But yeah, Dom's as much of a fixture to Philly sports as Allen Iverson, or Randall Cunningham, he's something else.
My next question is, can you tell us what your week's like during the season from Sunday to Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the quick version, Brent. I don't think it's probably much different than a high school coach, or a college coach. It's just the different days, Monday's going to be our review, and then our game plan prep, and then Tuesday's pretty intensive. And with Vic, I love working for Vic because he's like the guys like your dad, like you come up with that just there's no shortcuts. You just watch all the tape together, which is great, so you're very thorough. And that's what Vic is. He just doesn't skip any steps, which I'm not going to go on about young coaches or anything like that. But if any young coaches are listening, I mean, that's the secret of Vic Fangio's. He just works really, really hard. And then Wednesday is our first and second down day in the NFL, and most everybody does it the same. There's little variances of schedule. We actually had a little schedule change this year that was big, and Nick did a great job with that. But you kind of segue into your third down prep and your situational stuff, and then you get into the red zone, and that starts going in on Thursday, and then Friday. A lot of teams used to do it where Friday was like your red zone, goal line, short yardage day, and I think in the league it's become a little less. And then now it's become a review day, and the challenge in the NFL, and Bray can identify with this, the challenge is getting your guys to practice hard on Fridays, so you're just like, Friday's almost as a coach your hardest day. It's the end of the week for a lot of the players, but for your coaches, you're really keeping them focused in it because the work week's essentially over once you're done on Friday. And then Saturday we do our review stuff, and Coach Sirianni's as good as anybody I've ever been around as far as just reviewing situational stuff and educating the team on Saturdays. And then Sunday is your go time, and our players are funny because in the NFL you only have college has gotten crazy, with the different times that people play. It used to be you'd have the Jefferson Pilot game at 11 o'clock, or you'd have the CBS game at 3:30, or 2:30 Central, and then you'd have the Saturday night games on ESPN or ESPN2. That was it, to be a 90s SEC player. Now it's all the time. It feels like, at least, yeah. But that's kind of like it is with the NFL, where you got Sunday at 1, Sunday at 4, or you got one of the night games, and then you just got to suck it up for your Thursday game, which you have probably once a year. But our guys all love Sunday 1 o'clock games because you wake up, you play, then you get a little time after the game, especially if it's a home game. but that's how the week looks for us. I'd say as a coach, especially Brett.
What time do y'all go in the mornings, and how far are you from your facility? How long does it take you to get in?
Oh man. So when you live in Philly, it's great because most of us live over in New Jersey. And it's probably 15 minutes over the Walt Whitman Bridge. But there's some, like Vic and Stout, they live over in PA but Coach Sirianni lives like 2 blocks from me. I'm actually Susan's at my wife's at Kellen Moore's house right now because she was gonna get a freezer from him. They're selling it when he goes to the Saints. But we all live right over here, and then it's a 15-minute drive over to the facility, which is right next to the stadium. So that's not bad for us at all.
What time?
What was your question? Oh, what time? You'd be stunned how late I get in. It's not like the old days. I just kind of adjust to the staff. So we're kind of a late arriving staff. The fact that we're doing this Zoom, coaching's kind of changed in that regard, Brent, I don't know, like, remember the days you and I would go over to Williams-Brice Stadium or to the Roundhouse and I would literally do cut-ups with my dad, right? Where he had the projector and he was snipping them. That's right.
On the wall
and taping them on the wall, right? That's what I came up in coaching, right? And then even with when I played at the U of A, it was all beta tapes, and it was tapes. Well, now you got everything on your Exos or DV Sport or whatever that is, and I'd say I was working on a pass rush cut up for about an hour, and then I just clicked it off 5 minutes before we got on this, so you can do a lot of things at home now, which has really made it nice as a coach. And I'm sure with high school coaches going through huddle, it's become the same thing.
Okay, good.
Can't tell you what time I get in. I don't know. Sometimes, 6, 7, something like that, I guess.
Okay. Definitely not our father's hour.
Those guys worked way harder. I shouldn't say harder, but the only issue is, my dad will say it to me every so often, is you don't have like that you don't have that line between work and home. When I come home, I usually just pop on like a college player and I'll do some scouting while we're watching Landman on Paramount Plus right now. So
our dads wouldn't have been smart enough to do Zoom or anything like that, or watch film on a computer. It wouldn't have happened.
I tried to get Dad on. Yeah, Dad got on a Zoom. Dad got on a Zoom about 2-3 years ago to do some pass rush talk with me and a couple other coaches, and Jessica had to get it all done for him. So
there you go. I'm
sure Coach Bender would have been the same.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Well, Coach, I got a question for you. This time of year, obviously, you just brought it up. You're looking at prospects, the draft's coming up, for free agency's kind of come and gone, and you're going to look at picking up free agents later on. With your scouting background, as many years as you've done it, how involved are you in that as far as the off-season part of it, and how big a part of you are a part of the draft process?
Oh, I do my job, and that's something that Mr. Lurie's really big in with the Eagles, is just making it a collective process that everybody has a voice, and we all feel that. So it helps, and it's certainly Howie will ask a question or two, but they're very respectful of everybody here, which is unique, and so if you watch the player, you have a voice, but they'll ask me a question or two on players, maybe a coach might not, and it does help quite a bit.
Well, I just wondered that because I've talked to different coaches, different organizations. Some have more pull than others, and some they
That's
get
right.
what they get, and with your experience there. Next question is this. Y'all's dominant. I can't think of, well, maybe Schwartzy back when he was with the Giants when they beat Brady in the Super Bowl. I've not seen a dominant upfront performance like you guys put on in the Super Bowl. Going into that thing, watching the film, and obviously you had to feel pretty good about your guys going into it, but did you see that coming? I think I saw a stat. Y'all might have blitzed one time or didn't blitz at all and it was all the front four getting there all night long.
No, we didn't see that coming in. I mean, we saw matchups, and they'd been unfortunate. They'd had some unfortunate injuries where they had to kick Thune out to left tackle, and he's one of the best guards in the NFL. And we got our butts kicked by them. And I wouldn't say butts kicked. We just didn't play well enough against them in the Super Bowl. I shouldn't have said that, but we just didn't play well enough against them. And I think their offensive line coach, Andy Heck, is one of the best in the league at developing players. They've just done a great job. Mahomes is hard to get down in terms of pass rush, and they run the ball better than I think a lot of people give them credit for. What helped us was the game Bray was at last year, and it was funny. It really wasn't talked about as much leading up to the Super Bowl, but we'd actually had a pretty good game up front against them when we played them on Monday night at Arrowhead. And our guys gained a little bit of confidence from that game. We won the game, and we felt like, okay, hey, it's almost like Rocky IV when he cuts Drago. You think, okay, hey, he's a man, he's not a machine, and they are a machine. They do such a great job on offense. So I think that gave our guys a little bit of some confidence that maybe we could compete with them. But as far as what we did in that game, that was not expected. We were hoping to play well and hoping to take advantage of some matchups, that were in our favor, and we were certainly glad we did. But it was all the players. Those guys are studs, and we lost a couple of them. We're gonna miss them because they did a great job for us.
Well, there you go. You hit the Super Bowl. You've won it, accomplished it. Just like every NFL team, you don't have the same team back. You lose guys, free agency, this, that. What's the mindset now since you are defending NFL world champions? What's the mindset of going back in and trying to repeat it, which is, it's only been done a few times in the NFL?
Well, we haven't gotten there yet as far as our messaging. I mean, Coach Sirianni's really, as far as our organizational philosophy, you can see it with Howie, where Howie's worked really hard to bring a certain type of person in. We've had a lot of turnover. Just, our first day of free agency was pretty sobering for us as sitting in there, and we thought, "Phew, where'd our guys go?" But we knew it was coming. But Howie does a great job of bringing a certain type of player in, as far as like free agency and the draft. And then as far as our messaging goes, we're not there yet as a staff. Nick works really hard with that, and he involves us quite a bit, which is very appreciated as a staff as far as where we want to go with our messaging with our players. We still got a month or so before they come back. So, he's working. He's always working at it. He kind of bounces in everybody's office, and says, "All right, I'm thinking this," and we'll kind of, and then he'll do it in front of the staff, and he's very meticulous as far as what he wants to say to the players and how he wants to present it. Because what he did last year after coming off a not so great year in 23 was something else. It's one of the best coaching jobs I've ever seen was from him. Like he had a message, he stuck with it. And honestly, the message he started with in May was the same one he used before the Super Bowl.
Wow. Well, Coach, we'll get you off here, but we appreciate you coming on, but I do got something. Bray's got a question for you before we get you off here, and I've got one also. Go ahead, Bray.
Coach, you say you're got about a month and a half until the guys get in. So you got some time. What's your ideal weight for a blocking tight end who's got some really good hands, been out of the game a while? What would you like him to weigh in at if you were to invite him to rookie minicamp? Just
how much you weighing right now?
I'm pushing a solid 310.
Man,
solid 310. Solid though. Solid.
I can be anywhere in a month and a half. Yeah,
as long as you're good not being out in any routes. I mean, I think we're fine with that. And we might even go tackle over, bump the front over to you.
Okay.
That, so.
We can do that. All right. So stay where we're at is what you're saying. Don't need to. I'll lose a little bit just in case there are some routes, we want to talk about. But
let me tell you what's going on here, Coach. So you don't know this is Coach Cook at the end of football season. Ryan Mallett's foundation had a touch football game He scored a few touchdown catches and was the MVP. And he's really trying to push himself as a free agent in the NFL as a tight end.
Well, I mean, Bray, come on now. I mean, one of the greatest Eagles history stories is that big blocking tight end that's going to be a Hall of Fame tackle and Jason Peters.
Yes, absolutely.
Just be the next Jason Peters, you know. I mean, I don't know if you were. I was at the Hyper one time and I saw him just thunder dunking. You can do that. Let's go.
Let's thunder dunk, and we'll see at rookie minicamp.
Exactly. Well, Coach, before I get you off here, we do this to everybody. Is one of your favorite football stories? You got to give it to us. Might be a crazy moment, might be a sobering moment, might be a fun moment. Give us one great football story before we get you off.
Well, what type of audience you got?
Oh, we got all kinds. Everybody, I mean, whatever you need.
Well, I got a story that just popped, but I don't know if it's age appropriate. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and tell it. Marty will be so upset that I tell the story. But I mean, you know, it's the movie. The movie was so great, and the book was so great on Burles. You know, like in the Burlesworth, he was every bit of that and more, as Brent knows. He was he was wonderful, and I miss him so much. But Virgil Knight was our strength coach. And we used to have a heck of a conditioning program in the summer. I mean, he was something else. And, so it was back in the summers, you work all day. And I'm not going to make it sound like it was brutal work. I mean, they gave us some pretty good jobs, but me and Chris Chalmers and Emmanuel Smith worked at Arkansas Western Gas. I know Burles was going to school, so you just dread your conditioning all day. And so I think Garrett, I don't know if this is exactly, I think Garrett and Burles had some tacos before conditioning one time. And
yes, sir.
And so, you know this story, Brent?
Mm-hmm.
So Burles was wearing white shorts, and you know where this is going with the white shorts. So we had to run 4 100s. Bray, this was a son of a gun. If you can do that, you can be a blocking tight end. And so, but like everything, Burles was the standard. He was just flying around those. But we were warming up, and you're always complaining as a college player, Bray. I mean, you just like, oh, this day and this and that. And he just said, guys, I can't hold it. I gotta go to the bathroom. And we said, we're like, oh yeah, or whatever, And so we start running, and I always would run right behind Burles because I couldn't play football, but boy, could I condition. And so I'd always run behind him. And the last lap, I just start looking, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he said what he said was true. And the man never broke stride. And then as soon as we finished, he just went right to the bathroom. And we were just like, did y'all all see that? I mean, the man just he couldn't hold it, and he never broke stride. He just kept on running. That's not something they're going to put in the movie on Netflix, but that was just that was something else, and it was hot, and it was everything. But that guy was just something else, man. And that's a PG-13 story, I suppose. But boy, that was the story that came to my mind, Jeff. I was just thinking about that.
Oh,
yeah, that's
straight dedication.
Yeah,
right there,
dedication. Yes.
Yeah, the Virgil Knight summer program, man. It broke us all.
I've heard stories on the Virgil Knight conditioning program. I didn't want any part of it. I can tell you that.
Oh my gosh, that was before they double-deckered the other side of Razorback Stadium, and I'm telling you, we used to just look over that side. We'd run them bleachers, and you just like, oh my gosh, can I do another?
Yeah.
But there was a year they tried to run us off. I feel like towards last year they were trying to run us off, and I don't know, about half the team quit, I think.
That's good stuff. Well, Coach, hey, man, we really appreciate you taking time and your busy schedule, spending with us and going through this. One last thing, I've said that 6 times now, but one last thing before I get you off here. give some advice to a young coach, a young Jeremiah Washburn that's a GA or analyst out there, or a guy going into high school coaching, wanting to, further their career. What's some advice that you'd give them?
Oh, Jeff, that's a great question. I think persistence is really the key. And I'd say if I could go back as a young coach, what I would do a better job of is just ask great questions, and really be in a mindset of just learning the game as much as you can, and that's hard to do because you're in your 20s and you think you know everything. And then you figure out in your 30s and 40s you don't know anything, but as is life. But if I could go back to my 20s, is just soak in as much information and knowledge as humbly as you can, and just become a football coach, because I don't think we're having as much of that as we used to. And I think of with Coach Bender, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say this because I'm on this with Brent, but I am as a coach because of my dad, but also because of Mike Bender. I mean, because Mike Bender would not just tell you where to go; he'd tell you how to get there. And
hey, before we let you go, Jeremiah, when your schedule comes out, we're going to get our tickets to come to Dallas to watch the Eagles and the Cowboys, and we'll find out where your hotel is, and we'll come see you.
I wish you would. We always stay in a different place. I don't know why, but I wish you would.
I'll get it from you.
Well, we could use as much green as possible. That's always a tough trip for the Eagles up until this last year. That's been AT&T Stadium's been a house of horrors for us, and so that was actually that was a fun one this last year because we needed it. But I wish y'all would come and wear some green, midnight green or Kelly green.
Hey.
Oh, we'll come up with an Eagle T-shirt. We're not proud.
They'll give you a hard time. Dallas is tough. They put up on the Eagles fans.
They are, and the Eagles fans are tough on them. It works both ways. Very.
We practice on Broad Street in Philly, and that week of the Dallas game, what phrase is coming out of everybody's mouth. 8 cars passing by will start yelling it to us. So there's some definite hate for Dallas.
There is, in that whole division, I don't think anybody likes each other, and it's been like that since I was alive, no doubt.
Oh my gosh, that is a man's division.
It is.
You're going to wake up one of these days, and it's going to be the coaches in the mouth are going to be in Philadelphia having a cheesesteak.
There you go.
I wish you would. They love you.
If we could figure it out, that the three of us we'd think we'd died and gone to heaven.
There you go.
Oh, the Philly people love you. They'd love you. It's not as mean as you think. You just, as long as you don't have Giants or Cowboys gear on, they'll love you.
I'll know better than to wear my Cowboy stuff to Philly. I'm smart enough to know that.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. Well, Coach, we'll get you off here, man. We appreciate you coming on, and hey, good luck to you. We'll be checking your work this year, and hope you guys make another run at it.
Well, same. Thank you for having me on, and love the show.
We'll appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Tell Susan.
Sure will, Brent. Take care, guys.
See you, man.
All right.
See you, Coach.